Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to my Gameweek 32 team selection video here on the FPL Scope YouTube channel. And before we go into what I did in Gameweek 31 and what I plan to do in Gameweek 32, we need to talk about some FPL news, and that's namely two things. One of them is that Luke Shaw and Marcus Rashford came on to play in the second half for Man United against Sevilla in the Europa League. So both those players are back fit to play, and Man United went out anyway. They lost 3-0 against Sevilla, so they are out of the Europa League and they only have the league left to play for, and obviously the FA Cup final, potentially. FA Cup semi-final first against Brighton, and then a potential final against Man City. But that's pretty big news in terms of Rashford and Shaw being back fit and available for Game Week 34. Most importantly, the double Game Week 34 is when they'll be back, so we don't have to sell them for that. And even Game Week 33, they'll be back and ready to go. So really good news for those of us that have those players in the squad. As you can see from my team, I do have them on the bench, so I'm really happy that they both are fit and ready to play for some pretty massive game weeks coming up. But other than that as well, there's some news about some fixtures. We have finally gotten confirmed a double game week 36 fixture with Newcastle and Brighton, the fixture between those two guys that was postponed earlier in the season, that has been slotted into game week 36. So that's now going to be a double game week for those two teams in particular, which is going to be really good for all the Newcastle players and all the Brighton players that we all own. As you can see here as well, I have Isak, I have Botman, I have Trippier, I have Estupinian, McAllister, and March. So I have 6 players from that fixture. So I'm going to have a lot of double game week players in game week 36 as well. So pretty much the whole schedule now is set, and pretty much all the main players that you are considering playing in those game weeks are also fully fit now. So going to be really interesting going forward in FPL. But speaking about my game week 31 score, once again, pretty meh, not the best game week. As you can see, I got another red arrow. I'm still around 1 million overall rank, which is awful. My worst season all time, not really all time, but since I started playing 12-13 years ago, I think it's one of my worst seasons so far. But it's still salvageable. I could still get into the top 500k, I guess, but kind of losing out hope every game week to where I don't get a good score. So Game Week 31 was one of those game weeks where once again I did the opposite of what I was supposed to do, because every time I've been relaxed and not rocked the ball too much, just done one simple transfer, like this game week 31, is when I should have done more radical change to my team. So as you can see from my Game Week 31 team, I don't have a single Liverpool player, and they destroyed Leeds 6-1. So I could have had Trent Alexander-Arnold, I could have had Mohamed Salah. I have planned to have those guys in Game Week 31 before, but I figured just Maddison to Grealish makes a lot of sense. Maddison's been terrible lately. Grealish has been so good lately, and Grealish had a home game against Leicester, so it seemed fitting to just do that transfer. But getting in Mohamed Salah was probably the better move, and it was the better move because that's the player I really look forward to get now. So kind of a missed opportunity there. But just going through the squad, in goal, David Raya, yet another game week where he didn't get a clean sheet, but he still got a decent score because he got a lot of saves and some bonus points. So we ended up with 5 points, which was pretty good for a guy who didn't keep a clean sheet. But still, Raya is not the best, but he's a serviceable goalkeeper. He's one of the better goalkeepers in the league, and in terms of Fantasy Premier League as well, he has been one of the highest scorers this season. So I don't mind having him throughout the end of the season almost. I think I might go with Ederson at some point, potentially, but we'll get to that later at some point. But in the defense, I had Chelsea and Brighton facing each other, and Chilwell and Estupinian, of course, both teams conceded. The Brighton goal conceded was really stupid, so Estupinian again, another blank. He has not been living up to expectations lately, but still holding out faith somewhat when it comes to Chilwell. Not as happy about him as I would be normally. He's been kind of a letdown for me since I brought him in, because it looked like he was going to have some really good game weeks coming up, but he's only had one good return since I brought him in 3 or 4 game weeks ago. So pretty disappointed with Chilwell, and he probably should have been moved on to Trent Alexander-Arnold like a lot of players did. Anyways, Kieran Trippier as well, 1 point. Not the best. Newcastle struggled, lost against Aston Villa. Aston Villa have been amazing. That's another big minus for my Game Week 31 score, because I didn't have Ollie Watkins, who got 16 points. So yeah, that's also a huge detriment to my rank, of course, as well. Comes to the midfield, decent. Grealish, the transfer was still pretty good. Madison blanked, even though he had some really huge chances against Man City in the second half. While Grealish got 7 points, he won a penalty for Man City, and that was enough to get him a little bit of a point return as well. And then when it comes to the Brighton midfielders, I did have Solly March, who was the only midfielder who did something. So he ended up at 5 points, which was pretty good. And then we have Alexis McAllister, who ended up with 2 points, which again could have been better, but he also was sort of unlucky because there was an injury to Joel Weltman that meant that McAllister had to go further back and be more a central midfielder rather than a number 10 role. So that kind of hampered his efficiency going forward as well in terms of Fantasy Premier League. So that's also something I got to look into, and potentially someone I might sell. Either McAllister or Grealish, I think I have to sell in Gameweek 34 to get Salah for a double game week, but we'll get to that eventually. But anyways, Bruno Fernandes again, not the best game week yet again. He had some really good chances. He could have had a much higher score, but he ended up with a blank and 3 points again. So Man United have just been really disappointing for me, but Shaw and Rashford injured and Fernandes playing more as a defensive midfielder and being unlucky in general as well, not getting that many points. So 3 points for Fernandes. Again, really disappointing, but what you gonna do? I'm just gonna keep faith in him. I think a lot of people have sold him now, so I'm hoping I can get some of that points back once he starts returning, hopefully pretty soon. And then Alexander Isak had one decent chance against Aston Villa, but it was not meant to be. He got a 2-pointer, and his duel with Ollie Watkins has been firmly lost by this point, so kind of disappointed with that. But Isak is a terrific player. It's just Newcastle didn't have what it took against Aston Villa, so 2 points for him. Erling Braut Haaland was always going to be my captain, and he ended up with 24 points, 12-pointer after just one half of play. He got subbed off at the half, so he got some much-needed rest as well. So well done from Haaland and everyone that captained him, which is pretty much everyone. And then finally, Harry Kane, 2 points, blank. And Harry Kane is sort of like his FPL stock is going down. Like a lot of people, like I haven't really seen any single free hit teams in Gameweek 32 that have Harry Kane in it. So yeah, that's going to be interesting as well to see how much of a differential he could be in Gameweek 32. When they play Newcastle away, which is kind of a difficult fixture. So I guess that's why he's not in the squad for a lot of teams. And I think a lot of people are trying to sell him now to get the money to get Salah, which is always something that I looked into doing as well. So that's probably going to be my plan after Game Week 32 as well. But moving on to my current plan for Game Week 32. And we have this current free hit team at the moment. So as you can see, it's pretty much just focused on 4 teams. I have 3 Aston Villa players, Martinez, Moreno, and Watkins. I have 3 Liverpool players, Alexander-Arnold, Salah, and Gakpo. I have 3 Arsenal players in Saka, Martinelli, and Jesus. And I have 2 Newcastle players in Trippier and Isak. So I'm just going to go with the teams that I have the most faith in. I think Newcastle will bounce back after losing against Aston Villa, playing at home against Spurs. Newcastle have been really good at home in tough matches lately. Like they beat Man United 2-0 and they beat West Ham 5-1. So I think at home, Newcastle are a different beast than they are away. Likewise, I still have faith in Aston Villa being a much better team than Brentford at the moment. They are in much better form. Brentford have lost 3 in a row, while I think Aston Villa have won like 5 of the last 6 or 6 of the last 7 or something like that. So yeah, I'm just going to try to back the Aston Villa boys, I think, at the moment. I think that's what I'm going to do. In terms of defense, I could still bring in Johnston in goal potentially, and I could have a different defender than Moreno if I do one less attacker from Liverpool or Arsenal. But I'm feeling pretty confident about having double Liverpool attack and triple Arsenal attack for the game week. So starting in goal, Martinez and Martinez and Moreno, like I said, just gonna keep the faith that they keep a clean sheet against Simon Toney. It's going to be a tough ask, but I think Martinez and Moreno also have some potential to get more points. Save points for Martinez, potentially a penalty save would be amazing against Toney. Toney has been not the best with penalties lately. After having such a great record as a penalty taker, he's sort of slipping a bit. So if anyone could save a penalty from him, it would be Martinez, who knows how to get into players' heads. So yeah. Comes to Moreno as well. He gets a lot of points attacking wise. He is in the box quite a lot for Aston Villa, so I think he has some really good attacking potential, and I still think they can keep a clean sheet as well. Trent Alexander-Arnold, no-brainer. He's in every single team, and he's in my team as well, playing in the new defensive midfielder sort of role, where he gotten a lot of assists, and Nottingham Forest at home, which is a decent game for a clean sheet. Trippier as well. I just have to go with him since he's been in my squad since Gameweek 1. I just can't lose faith in him at this point. So he hasn't had the best scores lately. Newcastle have kept 1 clean sheet in the last 10, but I'm going to hold out hope that they beat Spurs and don't concede, but Trippier can also get some attacking returns as well. Then we have Saka, Martinelli. I think these guys are also pretty template at this point. Pretty much every single draft I've seen, they are both in it, and for good reason as well. I would sort of be okay with not having Saka in my team, if not for the fact that he missed the penalty and Arsenal lost 2 points against West Ham last game week. I think Saka will be really raring to go and hoping to score and make up for his penalty miss in the coming game against Southampton. I think Arsenal will completely thrash Southampton like 5 or 6-0. So I expect Saka to be amongst the high scorers in the game week, along with Martinelli as well. Those guys are really explosive when they play well, and I think Arsenal will have to make a statement now after 2 pretty disappointing matches. So I have faith in them. On top of having Jesus as a striker as well, who I also have a lot of faith in, and who could get a huge score. He got 19 points in game week 2. He got like 24 points at some point last season as well. So Jesus, we know he has explosive potential, and I just feel like it's too big of a risk to go without any of the 3 Arsenal attackers. And defensively, they haven't been the best either lately. So while I do have some pretty high hopes for Ben White in this game week, I think they are probably going to keep a clean sheet, and he might get a goal return or 2 even this game week. I still think like the attacking options are more enticing than having an Arsenal defender at this point. Then we have Mohamed Salah, easy captain choice, 2 goals against Leeds. Looks back to his best, looks amazing. Nottingham Forest at home is an easy match, so that's why I'm going with Salah. And I'm also going with Cody Gakpo most likely, because I feel like Liverpool are in such good form going forward, especially at home. They should be really good. So there's a decision I have to make between Jota and Gakpo, but currently I'm leaning towards Gakpo. And that's because that makes me have space for Alexander Isak, who is another player that I've put a lot of faith in lately. I think Spurs are looking terrible defensively, and Isak, should he start the match, which looks likely still, I think he can have a huge score as well. He kind of wants to bounce back after blanking last game week, so I think Isak is a good choice. And then Watkins also just picks himself, because Watkins is in pretty much every single team as well, because he's in such good form lately, and he's been scoring goals away from home pretty much every single game week, so I think he's a no-brainer as well. Decent bench as well, with Everson is just more like a cheap option as a goalkeeper. Wolverhampton at home isn't the worst fixture anyway for Leicester. Andreas Pereira playing against the worst defense in the league, Leeds. I feel like he can get a lot of points on my bench, and I'm going to regret benching him, but that's just a risk I'm going to take. And then I have Kurtzuma and Perisic as my defenders as well. Perisic is sort of just like a throwaway guy, and Zuma scored against Bournemouth last time. It says Brentford away there, but he plays against Bournemouth away, which is his real fixture. And Bournemouth at home, he did score and got 15 points. So maybe he could do the same again, but on my bench, it wouldn't help me that much anyway. But that's pretty much my team. As you can see, my 2 players that I'm considering swapping out is it's basically hinging on the final Liverpool player, the final Liverpool attacker. I think I sort of prefer Jota over Gakpo. I'm just a bigger fan of Jota than Gakpo currently. I think he's the more solid, like refined player. Gakpo is obviously younger and has more potential, but I think Jota is amazing, and he had a lot of shots last game. I think Jota is probably the player to get, but I also feel like Isak is a stronger option, or at least I think maybe just sentimentally he's someone I'd rather have rather than having someone like Madison or Heung-min Son. If I could get him, it would be difficult to get him for his price. Jared Bowen is also a potential move in midfield, especially seeing West Ham. I just saw West Ham destroy Ghent in the Conference League. Looked amazing for me, especially as a West Ham fan. It was really nice to see, but I think I don't mind having Bowen just as a player for my favorite team rather than having him in FPL and potentially blanking. So I think I'll live without that. I think Madison is the one that I would go with if I don't go with Gakpo. So it's still a consideration for me to go with Madison and Jota, but currently I'm leaning towards Gakpo and Isak purely because I think Isak has probably the highest potential out of all the players, or between him and Madison at least. at all the midfielders that you can compare him with. So that's pretty much the team for me. Game week 32 free hit is a go. That's going to be my final chip of the season. So from that point onwards, it's going to be just free transfers. I think my team is pretty well set up for the future. So pretty excited for that as well. So yeah, I hope you continue joining me on this journey in Fantasy Premier League for this season, trying to get to the top 500k at least this season. Hopefully we'll get to see how it ends up in the end for me, but I think next season I'll be able to strike back. So please subscribe to the channel and watch me for that as well. I have big plans for next season in FPL as well, especially in the summer when I do my Fantasy Premier League guide on my website, thevideoscope.com. So I'm going to link to that eventually and show you some of my plans for that eventually. But yeah, also just gotta touch on right before we leave here that there's no FPL Scope podcast this weekend or this week, because that's because Keem was still back in Egypt during Ramadan. It's Eid now, or Eid Mubarak, I guess I could say for tomorrow, Friday, or today if you're watching today. Hope you have nice celebrations, both Chemo and everyone else celebrating. So he's going to be in Egypt for that and coming back pretty soon for the next game week. We also have the next game week 33 is coming up pretty soon as well. It's already on Tuesday, I think. So yeah, we'll see about what we do with the podcast for that. But the reason why we don't have a podcast is because of Chemo not being here already, and Kevin also is struggling with like a stomach bug, as well as having some issues because he just moved and he has some issues finding his microphone and stuff like that. So yeah, I hope Kevin gets well soon. I hope Chemo has a nice celebration in Egypt, and yeah. So sorry about having no podcast this week, but that's just how it has to go sometimes. So that's been it for me, and I hope you found this video informative and you like it. You can comment down below if you have any interesting players to pick in your Gameweek 32 free hit. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me. So thank you and goodbye.